Talk Today is brought to you by South Coast Bar and Grill in Breakers, a true Caymanian experience.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us as we get on the way. Good company of our friends from RCIPS. Ms. Julianne Power joins us, and there have been a lot of numbers. Oh, that's the next segment. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thank you for joining us. Either two things. You either laugh along with me or you say, oh, he's going to get in trouble. Because in the studio, it is a police officer.
I prefer to laugh along with you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Julianne Power, thank you. Media Relations Officer, soon to be Commissioner in 20 years. I don't know.
Police Media Officer.
Police Media Officer. Yes. You keep telling me that. I keep writing it down and I don't look at it before I write it. Hey, thank you so much. And I want to say it a little bit at the outset because I think people need to appreciate that life is about laughter and giving thanks and
absolutely
smile,
Need to lighten up a little bit.
That's what I say, man. I mean, Miss Catherine Taylor, lighten up, she's right there. Always a pleasure to have you guys in the studio, share with us. And as is the summer, as things are happening, as we're on the roads, as we're traveling, as we're vacationing here on the island, it's always good to take our senses with us or don't leave them behind, right?
Absolutely.
So you guys give us great tips. You can give us some latest info.
Yeah.
Hey, we can be stronger together, right?
Yeah, and actually there are several things that we can talk about today, and we just had like a mini discussion on one of them, and it's what we've noticed is a spike in car break-ins and stuff, and also I'd like to just inform the public that we have an recruitment drive campaign going on, and that we're looking for locals to apply, Caymanians and persons with permanent residency without restrictions.
Okay. So that means if you're not married. No, just kidding. No, that's not true. Susan, like, boy, try to behave and Miss Norm is listening. She might. No. So if you're here, local resident, Caymanian otherwise, and you upon a residency, I think many of us, male and female, grew up want to be police officers.
Yeah, if at one time you wanted to, and for whatever reason you felt like you just can't anymore, I think that you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that if you still have that need to want to help and to develop your community and to be a part of the growth in your community, then you should try to apply. And it may sound like a lot, but I think that our process is very fair, and it's very, it's for you as an applicant, and it's for your development. And it's...
If I may ask you, when it comes to policing, for instance, if I can, there are many of us who probably will see the police officer in uniform, in the patrol car, walking the beat. That is our sort of impression and perception of the police officer. For those who would stop for a second, well, hey, they're all different facets of the police officer. So you don't need to be there. You can get in, if you're an accountant or a lawyer, you can be within the police.
And you know, I say that all the time, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I do say that a lot. I said for every walk in life that you have, and every skill that you have owned, we have a purpose for it with the police. If you were a diver or a dive instructor, you know, you have a place in the police, in our Marines department, albeit when you apply, you do have to go through a probation period of 2 years. And that 2 years is just so that you can get the fundamentals that you need to be the best police officer that you can be in whatever department you choose. But ultimately, the direction that you take after that 2 years is entirely up to you. And we have now officers who graduated, Caymanian officers, local officers who graduated only 2 or 3 years ago, who are now working in specialist departments, who are now detectives, who are now Marine officers, firearms officers, you know, even air operations officers. And so, you know, the wide range of possibilities that the police have to offer is absolutely astonishing. We're also in the process of, and in keeping with trying to be a world-class organization, are trying to develop our cybercrimes unit. And I know that we have a lot of Caymanians who are into computer sciences and, you know, these kinds of things. And we are looking for you.
Yeah, as you listen, I'm thinking that as part of recruitment, so start at age 18, would that be or is it younger?
So you have to be 18 at the start of the recruitment process in order to qualify. And so we'll accept your application if you're 17, but by the start of the recruitment process, you would have turned 18. And it goes up to 40. We stop accepting applications for persons who are older than 40. And just the main reason for that is because of the retirement age. The recruiting process would not be as beneficial for you as it would be for someone who is between the age of 18 and 40.
You know what? As I listen to you, I'm thinking that interest, as you said, some of us may have had early on, and maybe in a career now, and you know, we always have that inkling to want to serve the community in a way. We should not, you know, shy away from at least applying and considering it and seeing if it works for us. Absolutely not.
And you know, particularly we are looking at encouraging women to apply, because in our very last recruitment batch, the officers that graduated in June this year, we had no females that made it to our recruitment process, recruit classes. We did have some applicants, and I feel like there was one particular young lady who was extremely bright, and she did really, really well in her written test. She got a perfect score on her essay, but did not pass the physical. And I feel like the physical is something that you can change, and you can change rapidly at that. And so what we've done for the last one, and what we're doing for this one, is to actually tell you the test that we'll be testing you on for the physical exam. So the physical exam is going to be the 5.4 bleep test, and you can Google it or go on YouTube and run that program on your phone and practice it. And you literally have about a month to get your body in shape and ready if you know that you have an intention of applying.
You know, and being perhaps not as physically active as a society as we probably, you know, should be. Here, North America, different parts of the world, we're seeing that maybe this is a good way for us listening now, for all of us, to get up and start to move. It does the body good, right?
Yes, it absolutely does. And you have nothing to lose from trying. Absolutely nothing to lose from trying, except to know that once you've tried, if you've left an impression on us, then we will be calling you back during the next recruitment to see if you want to try again, because that is also something that we've been doing.
Well, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak with Ms. Jody Ampur from RCIPS. As we look at recruitment, as we look at different things, certainly, as you shared, we could talk about a number of different issues, but before we go to the break, maybe talk a little bit more about recruitment. Is it an ongoing open recruitment? How does someone who is interested now, whether they're 18 or even 17, what do they do? What's the initial steps?
Okay, so the initial steps to apply. You can go on our website and you can fill in your application right there on the website and submit it. We have a 6-stage recruitment process. And so the application is the first stage, and then the second stage will be like the physical exam. And from the application, we will be shortlisting you as well. So you have to meet a certain criteria on that application. And one of those criteria is that you have to have a clean police record, of course.
Clean.
Yes.
Susan, you
you have to have a clean police record and a clean driving record. And you also have to have only 3 CXC passes, with 2 of those being math and English. And so it's not very stringent, because we intend to develop you as an individual once you've joined the service. And so academics are not exactly, we're not stringent on it, but you have to have a diploma, a high school diploma. But once you've gone into the application process, you'll then have to do the physical exam, and you'll have to pass that to move on to the next stage, which will be the written exams. And you'll have a multiple choice with math and basic English and general knowledge, and then you will have to do a essay. And after the essay, you'll also have to do a basic computer skills kind of test, and then an interview. And after that, it'll be down to your background check and your medical results.
Now, those things sort of happen sequentially?
Yes. Exactly the way that I... Yeah.
So from the very first to the interview, is it every week? Will it be over a series of months? How long is that process?
Right. So we have an open recruitment process with the police. But for this particular class and this particular drive, the deadline to apply is the 10th of August. And that is a hard deadline for this class, and any applications past that time will be kept on our files for the next recruitment process. We have a maximum of 18 spaces, and that's just because that's our capacity to train. And what was the rest of the question again?
Then when they start until they sort of get selected, so it's a sequential thing. Okay. How long does it take?
So the recruitment process, so the drive is from the 23rd to the 10th, and that's 3 weeks. And then past the 10th, we'll have like a week of shortlisting, because we'll be doing shortlisting as the applications come in anyways. And so you have about a month from now until the physical exam, until you're called for the physical exam. And we'll do that physical exam on 2 days. We'll do a weekday and a weekend to cater to people's needs. And then within that week, you'll also have the written test and the essay.
All right. Well, when you come back, you share with us more about some of the things that happen in the community, some tips for safety, maybe some stats, some things of concerns.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Ms. Jody Ampur, always willing to share with us. And see, come through Radio Cayman, you always remain every day, Cayman. 1-800-534-TALK if you want to share your thoughts, ask a question. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
When it comes to designing a kitchen or a bath, functionality and style should be at the center of your design. Declutter, improve lighting, change cabinets, increase storage, and show your style with the help from experts at Brand Source Home Gallery. Save 20% on the finest cabinets and fixtures this July for Kitchen and Bath Month at Brand Source. The design team can help create the perfect personal spa retreat and help design your functional kitchen, whether designing from scratch or renovating your home. Stop by Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, to save 20% on kitchen and bath cabinets and fixtures.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Pure and cleaner.
Now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 4 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah Countryside, Elgin Avenue, Georgetown, Centennial Towers, West Bay, and Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. Drive through, rain or shine. Free pickup and delivery. Call Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. You feel good when you look good.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today as we invite you to be a part of the discussion. Again, special thanks to all of the serving officers within our CIPS.
Absolutely. I want to shout out our detectives and our traffic officers and our community officers, and our patrol officers.
That's the thing, man. I mean, when we can have a community that is respectful and respectable, community that partners with its uniformed services, so from the fire personnel to the guys that were EMS, great. But to our policing as well. And when those people in uniform, because they're very, very visible.
Yes. Especially now with our lights.
You know what? If it's appropriate, we've seen the press release as to why, and if you wish to highlight that, because we had someone called, with respect, he noticed the vehicles out now, and obviously it's not that the car is being driven because the sirens, the lights are on.
I understand the confusion. Because when it was initiated, at first I didn't know about it either, and it kind of confused me when I was on the road a little bit, and I think that we dropped the ball on that, and we kind of failed the public for that first few weeks because we didn't inform you first before it came out, and that was our failure. But I can't see how people will be upset about this light because, like if you're driving down the road and you're going a little bit over the limit, you can see that car from like 2 miles down the road and you need to slow down.
Well, you know what? Thank you for sharing that, because if anything, if it makes our roads,
safer.
Yeah. And for those of us, just a parked police car. Now, I think it was part of Florida, on the south end of Florida, that ran, I don't want to say an experiment, but they did publicize this years ago. They would take unused or seldom used police cars and they would park them very visibly
just on the road,
to
deter speeding and traffic offenses. Absolutely.
And they saw that by doing that, there was a significant reduction in speed and the traffic offenses just in that area. Eventually people will get used to it, but hey.
And the purpose of them is not just for traffic offenses, but also for other crimes.
That's it.
Especially at nighttime, with burglaries and warehouse break-ins and that kind of stuff. They're instrumental in providing the visibility of the police that we didn't have before. And just that visibility and that fair I think would be instrumental in.
It gives people too a sense of maybe, well, deterrence for those would be, but also safety. There's a police car there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it goes back to what I was saying initially. If the community and the police continue to partner, holding each other to the highest standard,
absolutely,
we'll have a better society.
And our first priority is to prevent any kind of crime or catastrophe, and then comes investigation afterwards.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Dwayne, if I may ask of you, and if it's not possible to answer just yet, but I've had this question a couple of times recently. Just this morning in one of my discussions, someone asked when they heard about who's your guest today. By the way, could you inquire?
Yeah.
I said, well, you know what? If I do that, probably be remiss of me.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed it as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are vehicles, not unmarked police vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
They're not blue lights or flashing lights. They're almost like strobe, but they're flashing emergency-looking lights on vehicles that do not appear to either be, police, fire, unmarked police vehicles, ambulance, and these vehicles are driving in a way that indicate that they're some sort of emergency vehicle.
So are they like private vehicles?
They would look to be private vehicles.
Okay.
I've seen a couple where they're obviously marked by the company, but I've seen some where these vehicles have these little gizmos, I call it, that would give the semblance that it's an emergency vehicle.
Well, I would suggest that if anybody does see it, if you could just record the license plate for that vehicle, because if you are not an emergency vehicle, you should not have a strobing light, because not only is it dangerous to the public, but it's also it also creates a level of confusion, and it's against the law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, answer later on. I've seen it on I would call it the public utilities, for want of a better word. A few of their vehicles have had stuff, either on top or the lights themselves.
So like Public Works and NRA, they require those lights on their vehicles. They're not emergency lights. Their lights are usually either yellow or orange, and it's a caution light. And it's because they are required a lot of times to close roads and block roads in order to carry out their duties. And so for the public safety and to make sure that they are visible and for their own safety,
when they're parked,
they have those.
But what about when they're driving from point A to point B?
Honestly, I don't see why it should be used, but I mean, I could find out and let you know.
Okay. And that extends to the private utilities as well, 'cause I've seen it sometimes, and you see a flashing light.
Yeah.
You tend to kind of, so
slow down and be cautious, and I think that's the purpose of it. But to be driving with it is an entirely different situation.
Like it is, again, it comes back to us being informed, being aware, being involved, but also, being able to ensure that we do it properly.
Yeah.
It's what makes a community healthy and safe.
Absolutely.
If we can't question and ask and answer.
Yeah, and if you don't raise a question, you'll never find a solution. So
I was a student in the class who always asks a question. Respectfully, but, hey, they say that's a sign of a good talk show host. I mean, Susan's like, what? Now, as we're going through our whole, sort of summer and we're making sure that as a people we're involved, we're prepared. What do you want to share with us? I have a few things, but you lead us down a road. They say follow a good woman, you mightn't get lost too often. Yeah.
Well, what we found out, and not just this year, but in previous years, is that over the summer we've had a spike in a particular type of crime, usually theft-related crimes, and it's mostly around vehicle break-ins, vehicle thefts, and burglaries and other petty theft crimes like shoplifting and so on. And so I just want not only business owners but residents to just be aware of this and to take proper precautions. And there are some things that you can do, albeit you can't police your vehicle 100% of the time, all the time, but you can just take little precautionary measures to ensure to minimize the risk of you being a victim, like not leaving your valuables visible in your car or in your car at all. So in the event that somebody does break your window or whatever the case may be, you stand a lesser risk So you don't have money and you don't have electronics in there. Another thing that you can do is park your vehicle in visible places, like where the road, where it's visible to the road, or it's visible to your home or your office, like office windows and stuff like that. That way, the fear of being seen will quite possibly and hopefully prevent your vehicle from being broken into, rather than it being parked in a remote area where nobody can really see it and it's far away. And when you're going out at night and parking at like restaurants and bars and clubs and all those things, or even churches, or, I'm not judging.
Well, after you go from church to the bar. I just
but wherever you're parking, just make sure that the area is well lit. And again, don't leave things in your car. And what I've been hearing from quite a few people is that they leave their cars open because they don't have any valuables in their car, and they don't want their glass to be broken to stand a cost of repairing that broken glass, and them not having anything stolen from their car. And I understand the frustration and I understand the reasoning, but you also have to consider the fact that your car could be stolen. They may not be after your property. They may be after your car. And in particular, I can say for certain that there have been like a particular car that's been targeted, albeit there were other cars that are stolen. But Hondas have been targeted. And it's usually older model cars as well. So even if it was like a couple weeks ago, there was two Mazdas that were stolen, but they were all below 2010. I can't remember the year exactly, but they were about probably about 2006 models. And for the Hondas, it's between like 96 to 2010. And I don't know why that is.
That's an answer.
I don't know why that is. And it's something that we need to look into. I know there's a lady from a different jurisdiction who told me that the reason why they targeted those cars is because of the parts for them. Because they're such popular cars, the parts are in high demand. I don't know if that is the case here as well, but it's something to consider. But I don't know if it is that it's quite possible that one key can start those cars. So if you have like a 2006 Honda Civic key, it may be able to start other cars. So different things are to think about. And so what I would do, or what I would like to do, is encourage the people who know that they fall in that bracket with their vehicle to try to invest in anti-theft devices like alarms. And I have spoken to a particular business whom I will not name for obvious reasons. And they said that they carry several alarm systems, and some of them with like locking devices, and some of them with speech capability and warning capabilities. So if somebody is coming close to your car, it'll beep. And if they touch it, it'll start to alarm.
Right.
So, and it'll enforce the locks and that kind of stuff. And there are different things that you can do. Some of them are quite pricey, but
so
you have to.
As we come back from the break, though, let me ask you: some of us have this. I don't know if it's expected, required, or just a habit of practice. We leave in our glove boxes, or whatever, in our cars. We leave the logbook. That's what it's still called, and our insurance. We keep it there just in case.
I do that.
I can't think of anybody that I know that doesn't
do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that a practice that you would suggest from the RCIPS to discourage, or should we continue to do that?
I think that you should leave a copy in there.
Okay.
So maybe you should have your documents copied so that you have the proof in your vehicle, but you might want to keep the original at home somewhere safe. And the reason I say that is because not a lot of people know their license plate number.
Susan, I don't know it.
and so, you know, if there's a possibility of your vehicle being stolen, you want to be able to provide the officer with a perfect description of your vehicle, because that will then enable us to better find your vehicle in a timely manner. And if you don't know your license plate, that's difficult.
Well, you know what? How many of us know our own phone numbers? We know our friends, right? So when we come back, as we talk about vehicle safety and the tips and stuff, would it be okay if it's timely, in other words, the new legislation that was passed with respect to the new license electronic plates? Anything that you want to share with us and track it, we'll leave it to you. We'll see what we'll ask you other questions, and you'll tell us more stuff.
You know what we'll do? We'll create a separate segment for that, and now we'll bring someone from the traffic department with
me. There you go. Well, we'll do that. When you come back, we're going to have some more discussion, right, Ms. Julianne?
Right.
All right. Please stay tuned. We invite you to join us if you want.
The Cayman Contractors Association would like to urge all contractors to register for the Builders Law by completing the application process. The application is online at www.planning.gov.ky, or the form can be collected from the Planning Department. Do not miss the July 31st deadline and be unable to pull a permit for your job. Ensure your company is licensed, as the public wants to hire licensed contractors. Join the Cayman Contractors Association and stay current on code courses, training, and industry news. The Cayman Contractors Association, building a better Cayman.
South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
Enjoy dining by the sea in the relaxed, tranquil atmosphere with local food specials every day and karaoke every Saturday night with Cayman Elvis.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
Place household garbage in large bags prior to its placement in a garbage container to avoid spillage during collection. A suitable garbage container must be made of sturdy materials that will allow it to withstand weathering. A tightly fitted cover is also necessary to keep out water and stray animals. Do your part. Keep your surroundings clean. Store household garbage in a suitable garbage container. For more tips on proper waste packaging, please visit DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 if you want to join us, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Question, comment, or query you wish to share with us from the RCIPS. Mr. Dwayne Parry. Police Media Officer?
Police Media Officer.
Police Media
right.
Officer.
Yes.
All right. See that? Almost got it right this time. You know, it's interesting that as we start to look at policing and the role that the community can play, you know, I recall the initial police meetings that I attended, you know, Commissioner Gray way back when, he was there. I say, hey, we're here to work with you. You work with us, and you build that dialogue. 50 years later, we're still trying to continue. That's what the mentality. It hasn't been 50 years. I know you're thinking, it must have been 4. No, but that's what it's about, right? Helping each other to make us safe. As you were sharing with our vehicles, some of us, you know, even though we may have a garage or secure storage, we still park our cars outside. We may not necessarily park them in a place that is as best lit or as accessible for whatever reason, you know.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of it is, you know, people, human beings on a whole, are not very happy with change, especially when they're in a happy place. And so, you know, we grew up with that Cayman kind mentality where we can leave our cars open and we can leave our doors open and not expect to be victim of crimes. And gone are those days now. And it's just, been difficult, especially for older people to adjust to. I think.
Well, maybe that's where we who live here. I'll go on the premise, and if people say, "Oh man, you're just naive," then by all means say so. But there are more of us who are law-abiding, trying to be decent citizens, who are
absolutely,
at the very least, trying to show some semblance of civility. If that is the case, and then there are those who in the society will break into a car maliciously, maybe they've got some other intent, we should be able to report that, record it, and enforce it.
Absolutely. And, I want to encourage people in the public to get to know your beat officers. And if I may, we've gotten some new staff for our beat officers, and so now we have additional staff in Eastern and North Side, and we have at least one more officer per district, so we got 10 staff. So now we are up to about 36 officers in our community department, including the sector sergeants and the inspector. And I just want to say, get to know your beat officer, and sit down and have some coffee with them and explain to them the different things.
Are they buying? I mean, because it's just
or you're making, I don't know. They walk around the community, invite them over and talk to them. And let them know the different things that are happening in your community, because it's not fair to you as a law-abiding citizen to be victims of crimes from people who with absolute disregard to the law. It's not fair to you as a licensed and insured driver to be driving on the road and becoming a victim of crime to someone who did not have insurance and cannot be liable for the damage that they brought on you.
Can I ask a question with respect to sort of traffic and driving a vehicle? Just to make sure, and this is not in any way to be redundant or otherwise, but if we're driving on the road, so we're behind the wheel of some vehicle, are we supposed to have a valid driver's license?
Yes.
Okay, for that particular type of vehicle?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Is that vehicle supposed to be insured?
Absolutely.
Okay, and
that's probably one of the most important parts of it.
And then current license, went through the inspection and
exactly.
DVL and whatever, the paid or fee. So those three things are supposed to be there.
Yes.
So if we're not doing that, that's a criminal offense?
It is a traffic offense.
Okay, so it's a different, okay.
Yes.
All right.
And the traffic law and the criminal law is kind of separated, and they have their own. So you have a traffic conviction record and a criminal conviction record, and so they're kind of separated in a little bit.
So all of us then should be at the very least, valid driver's license, insured vehicle, licensed vehicle. Traffic offense if not, and if we're getting an accident or police stop because they're doing some inspection or traffic measure, they pull you over, get your ticket potentially before the courts, that sort of thing would transpire.
Right.
All right. And the reason why, because it would seem that just from media accounts, from different conversations with people, that there are some of us, I don't know whether it's what percentage, who are on the roads with either all of those absent or one or two of those absent, and we seem to go about our ways as if, doesn't matter. And I'm wondering if that speaks to the society that we're becoming.
And again, I want to reiterate that is not fair to the law-abiding citizen, to the person who went to vehicle licensing and paid $250 for the year to license their car, and who went to the insurance company, and if they are like me, have to pay $700 to insure their car because of age and whatever else. You know what I mean? There are some younger people with particular types of cars who are paying up to $3,000 a year for insurance for their vehicles, and it's not fair to them to have to pay that while you are roaming off scotch-free and breaking the law?
So, not necessarily a question for us to answer right now, but certainly not a question that, is sort of one of those, what is she, you ask and you don't expect an answer. What can we do about that? I mean, how do we, the policing, judicial arm, whatever that is, and then we, the societal arm, how do we address that issue?
Well, I think that our newly revamped traffic department has been doing a really good job with doing regular spot checks and their traffic checks. So when an officer pulls over someone for speeding or for broken taillight or whatever the case may be, they always ask to see the logbook and the insurance. And if you don't have that up to date, then you will be prosecuted by that officer. And so these are the things that we as the organization can do. But you as a community can get in touch with us and let us know what you need and what you know so that we can better help you as a community. And there are different ways to do that now as well. And you can even be anonymous and send us a tip through our website, www.rcips.ky. You can send us a little tip or feedback through the website, and that'll come directly to our PR group.
So then if we see, what sort of tip? I mean, let's say we're in the car park of some building and there's a vehicle there that either, the obvious one, there's no license plate on it at all, or no decal saying or is expired. Take a picture of it and upload it and send it across?
Absolutely.
All right.
You can do that, or you can even just call the police station that's nearest to you, and an officer will come over and have a look and investigate what the vehicle's doing there and who parked it there and when it got there, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Well, we've got a news coming up shortly. We always enjoy your company. We don't want to impose on you in a greater. Time is yours if you want when you come back, or you need to get back to work.
Yeah, I will be getting back to work, but I
if you weren't
definitely, I will definitely come back whenever you need me to.
Well, the invitation is always there, and thank you so much for taking on board. Hopefully the people listening will be able to find some benefit. Thank you for the company. All right.
No problem, and I just want to remind people again, it's an open recruitment process, but the drive ends on the 10th of August, so do send in your applications.
It's almost 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
The 10th is a Friday, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, we'll pause and take a break. Thank you so much, Ms. Farmer.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to do our news, and then we'll come back, some open line. Let's see what happens. Stay tuned, please, for Talk Today.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. Police say that the phone lines at the Boddentown Police Station are down. Anyone needing to contact the station can dial the alternate number at 916-5612. The station also remains open to walk-ins. Police also remind that any emergency calls should be made to 911. In international headlines, wildfires near the Greek capital of Athens torched homes, cars, and forests, killing at least 74 people. 26 of the dead were groups of families or friends who were found huddled together. The wildfires on Monday were the deadliest to hit the country in decades. The country's prime minister has called for 3 days of national mourning. Israel shot down a Syrian fighter jet and said it had breached its airspace today. This as advancing Syrian government forces retaking territory from rebels reached the Golan Heights frontier for the first time in 7 years. The Trump administration in the U.S. plans to send billions in emergency aid to farmers caught in the crossfire of the dispute with China and other U.S. trading partners. The U.S. Agriculture Department is expected to announce a proposal that would include direct assistance and other temporary relief to farmers. Those are your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Radio Cayman Super Jam Show.
Tune in every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. for
Radio Cayman Super Jam Show,
the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Showdown.
Love your lack of fresh vegetable.
The Georgetown Farmers Market, offering the freshest in local produce, preserves, and crafts.
Be proud to be Caymanian. Shop local at the Georgetown Farmers Market today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. It's an open line now for the half hour or so, thereabouts. Have you share your thoughts with us. Again, special thanks to the RCIPS and in particular, Police Media Officer PC Jodianne Power for joining us. And as she shared, they recognize, as I think many in the community have shared in the past, that come summertime, there's a spike in certain crimes, theft of vehicles, break-ins, those sorts of things. And maybe there's a reason we can acknowledge that and address it. Maybe there are things that we can do to make ourselves safer, as the officer shared. Well, if it's your vehicle, you want to certainly keep copies of your logbook and insurance in the vehicle, but keep the original safe somewhere, so in case you need it, you'll have it. If the vehicle is stolen, well, at least you have the originals, and if you're on the road and have a reason for it. Safe area, well lit. Try to, help each other to pay attention to what's going on. And then maybe, just maybe, if you're seeing signs of errant behavior and the like, is there a way we can address it? Maybe there's another issue at stake that we dance around, skirt, and not necessarily willing to talk to, but leave it to you. Hey, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Certainly invite your comments on our email, talktoday@candw.ky. Had a discussion with some individuals earlier who had indicated that they were trying to talk now to some people relative to the ongoing pace of development, and in particular the government's intention of constructing the cruise port, and suggested that in a few of their conversations, now I don't know, I didn't ask, and I don't think it was at that time pertinent, who was the they in this larger group and what's the intent. But in their discussions, they were concerned from a number of things. Obviously, the environmental impact, but they said if we ignore that, as we've done in many instances, not always to the detriment of society, sometimes there are costs of doing something for the betterment of the long-term prosperity. Well, we have to, as one of the fellows says, tear down some trees and rip up some coral and the like. His view is not necessarily that should be the first course of action, but it isn't always a bad course of action. But his concern was the impact to the bottom line. What is the cost to the country? The financial cost, as well as he said, what would happen if we move forward with the project and we didn't get it, as he puts it, we didn't get it right. There are no way to undo sometimes some of that development. Now he shared that there are those who are looking at it and only seeing the potential financial impact or the potential environmental cost. They're not looking long term. He shared that it's unfortunate that many of these projects tend to span different administrations, even though sometimes there may be similar people involved, either as elected officials appointed or with the construction and development. Where is the vision for the long-term growth for the sector and for the economy, and how is it going to benefit, he thought, the security and stability of the country? And in developing the cruise aspect, are we paying any attention or sufficient attention to the cargo? How can we expand that? How can we ensure that goods come in, consistently, come in, as cost effectively as possible? He's saying that as a business owner, many times the cost of shipping to bring things here is part of the reason why his prices are as high as they are. Yes, there are all the other factors, the cost of labor, the cost of his finance to operate his business, the different attendant costs to running his business. But he gave us an example. Just for the internal workings of the business, they needed a particular item. Now, to ensure that item was available, his supplier brought it in. He agreed to pay their regular costs, the additional costs to get it here much more quickly. And because of the relationship, he didn't think that he was paying a markup on that cost. Now, that was a one-off instance. But in the past, he says, they're finding increasingly that more and more businesses sometimes, because of the nature of the business, perhaps because of the volume of the goods that are being imported at any one time, the costs are maybe higher than what they could be. So in expanding the port, could we expand the potential to have larger vessels, have a more frequent? Is there something that we could do that could potentially reduce the cost? But beyond that, if he was of the view that the focus was solely on the cruise aspect of the port construction, what is going to happen to the cargo aspect as we talk about developing more our infrastructure, building more homes and commercial buildings, growing our population? How are you going to service that population, the foods and the goods that we would need? And he thought, this is where there seems to be a disconnect, or at least a lack of, open public communication and conversation about what is it we're doing. Well, I promised him that I would try to relay what he shared and invite you to give us a perspective. Now, his remarks were simply that there isn't enough of a public comment. He thought that the media as a whole isn't constructively and consistently speaking to the issue, asking about the things, the environmental groups, whether it's the Department of Environment as a public entity, whether it's the other groups, the National Trust, even the Chamber of Commerce. There isn't any sufficient discussion on a project like this, whether it's going to be 500 million, whether it's going to be $1 billion. It's going to be a project that is going to affect us for the next 5 decades or more. when the conversation was that potentially the operation and ownership control or the likes could have been ceded to another entity, there were those who were concerned about, the security of the country. Well, whether that is the case or not, we should still be having that view that this needs to be in the public domain, because it could be a project that would affect us now and for decades to come. Well, your thoughts. Is the development of the port, the cost, the location, and everything that goes into that an issue that should be, as he shared, a priority, one that is on the fore, whether it comes to fruition or not, whether it comes in a manner as outlined, or whether it's going to be something different? Is that something they should be looking at? 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Now you can WhatsApp your thoughts if you choose. You can send us a voice note, or you can text it and send it across. 925-3261 is our WhatsApp number. And then if you want to share your thoughts via email, well, hey, talktoday@candw.ky is our email address. Either way, we'll take your calls, share your comments, engage you, and hopefully be able to not just learn from what you're sharing, but through this medium, involve and inform others as well. Endeavor to do so. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Now, his other thought in relation to the port was that not only in and of itself, it is a project that could be significantly, affecting the public purse, the national debt, the continued prosperity and stability and security of the nation. But when coupled with other projects that may be undertaken during this administration, with existing public debt, with future projects of future governments, what will that mean for us? And he shared, if we look at the emerging landscape globally, as countries start to wrestle with what they're going to do relative to their immigration, what impact the development or the world economy is having on their value, their inflation, their currency relative to other currencies, their opportunities for their people to be able to find employment, to be able to progress and prosper. Are we looking at it from our perspective? If he says that many are concerned that the financial sector, as it once was and as it may be now, could be completely different in less than 10 years, will that still be a viable source of revenue for the country? Will it be a potential and continued source of employment for our people? And as we not sufficiently diversifying other areas, developing other sectors, are we putting the country at greater risk of not just default, but in a sort of a socially, untenable situation? Hey, let's go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, my friend. Welcome to you. How are you today?
I'm thankful and pleasantly blessed.
Amen to that.
I hear you, regarding the capital projects.
Mm-hmm.
And while I believe the government is very ambitious, and you have to applaud efforts of ambitious government, I have some concerns. And the concerns that I have is that I'm wondering if the government is not trying to take on too much at one time. And let's just take a quick run through. And whether statutory or core government, it still is a burden on the financial public purse. I know some of these statutory authorities do have some money to their disposal. But we are talking about, right now we are undergoing a project at the airport that no one seems to know the final cost as yet. And one that I find very appalling, because if you're dealing with public money, whether statutory or core, you're dealing with public's money. And I believe that the blatant disregard and this is not only this government, every government do the same rubbish. where they spend undisclosed amount of money to, you've heard me say from time to time, to settle up lawsuits or whatever, and it is kept quiet. You can't know how much it was. The only soul that knows is those that are in cabinet at the time and those being privy to. Then we look at what is being undertaken now in regards to Cayman Airways. We all know Cayman Airways ain't got a dollar rub together. They don't have not one farthing, as my poor grandmother would say, to rub together. But they're investing in these 800 Max. Now, I am not an airplane or an airline specialist, but when you go online, you Google, and you see the cost of those aircraft, it's a substantial amount of money. You're not talking about $10 million. You're talking about a substantial amount of money, right? And then we're talking about the port. Again, the port has got to be, a friend of mine told me that he estimated it's going to cost over $300 million is what his estimate is. Now, I believe, like I said, you can appreciate a government that has vision for the future, but I believe in the same faith we have to be cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of financial burden involved here, and perhaps they might need to sit down around the table and rethink some of this stuff before moving forward. I am not here to tell you that the port can't work. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm not a professional. Right. There are those out there who can do the relevant studies and see how it would affect the environment around it and the environment at a distance from it. And that is what those people are for. I'm talking as a layman and understanding that you can't spend more than what you earn.
If I may ask you, though, I mean, as I listen to you, and I think most people would say, you're speaking not just with good sense, but, good common sense and insight. There seems to be this acceptance on the part of the public that a government spending public funds can say, we're not going to inform you about this cost of this thing, and the public, whether it's the general public, whether it's the media, okay, that's fine. Is that your view, that that's seemingly what is happening? Governments can say that and the public accepts it? Well,
yeah, it's quite evident that because it's the new norm. I mean, we have had people that have left. That have left Cayman under a cloud of darkness, and there has been substantial money paid. Remember the Kernahan fiasco. The number, you can go ahead and name as you go along, and we, the public, still have not been told what the amount was paid to them. Now, you can imagine, Dwayne, you running a company, and the directors and shareholders, you're the director, and your shareholders say to you, well, Dwayne, we noticed that Joe Blouse is no longer with the company. Oh, no, we paid him out, and he's gone, but we can't tell you how much we paid him, though. That's the secret. Well, that's the same thing the government of every day do us, as the people. We are the shareholders. We are the stakeholders. They are merely the directors. And they're not telling us as the shareholders where our money is going. I feel it that in a logical and theoretical sense, that is very wrong. That is very, very wrong. And I mean, and that is not to single out any individual. That is to single out the government of the day. When you are dealing with the public purse, you have a responsibility which cannot be diminished to let the public be aware of where the funds is being spent. And I have an inherent problem with that, and I will always have an inherent problem with that, because the common sense approach is that if you are going to be the director of a company, you must report to the shareholders and let the shareholders know where that $100 million disappeared to. Because in the real world, you'd be prosecuted. Yeah? Mm-hmm. In the real world, Dwayne, you would be standing before a judge, and if you're lucky, a jury. to be tried, for your faith to be tried. So, that's my input. And like I said, don't shoot the messenger, but take the message in a very, very serious content.
Well, as I listen to you, I mean, the whole idea, and I appreciate you sharing the whole idea that the public is even expected to accept that, or as someone is just sharing, allow me to read it. The audacity, it says, of a government to even utter such words is tantamount to a dictatorship, not a democracy. Now, I don't know whether this person deliberately typed this in bold caps or whether it's indicative. When you do that, you're shouting and so on. But that was what the person sent through. They gave us an example of two things there, right before the election. It reminds us of the government saying, well, we'll tell you what the hall's going to cost, the sports place. And then now with the airport, well, we know it's going to be more than 60, it may be 100, it may be more, but we'll tell you about that down the road. To your point, why is it then that we're allowing that? The media, is it doing its job to investigate and inform the public? We as a public, are we questioning our elected officials and demanding, hey, wait a minute, it's our money,
Well, Dwayne, rightly so, and it should not get to be a point where the media should have to sort of investigate the spendings of government. It should be where the government of the day should come to the public and say, hey, look, we advertised this project, and we came back and we said the contract was awarded for say $6 million, just for argument's sake.
Right.
We are now presently we have had some overruns, and the overruns thus far is now puts us at X amount. Mm-hmm. We can't give you the final figure at this time because it's still a work in progress. But when we have those figures, we'd be happy to let you all know what that figure is. That is the way a transparent government works. Not one who comes and say, well, we got overruns, but we can't tell you. We're not going to tell you the overruns. We can't even estimate what they are.
Yeah, we can give you to date what the expenditure is. This is what we spent so far. I think what you're sharing makes sense. But again, this comes back to whether we have matured to that point where we can ask questions and demand honest, reasonable answer in a reasonable time, huh?
Exactly, and I'm hoping that at some point the light bulb goes off and someone wakes up and say, you know what, we need to be more transparent. And again, around election time, everybody is as transparent as can be, according to them when they go on the talk shows, when they go on out there, they're public speaking. Oh, well, this is what we're going to do, that what we're going to do. They get elected and they get sworn in, and the very next day everything changes because what? They're now in, they got you secured for 4 years. They ain't did the squat that we're going to be able to do as a public to get them out on the 4 years. So they just go in and just do what they want to do, and at the end of the day, they come back again. And Cayman public is I tell you what, they're the most forgiving public in the world. So they come right back to you next election again and tell you the same junk, and you go right back and vote for them.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. I don't know whether this was posed to us to be rhetorical or not, but let me ask you a question. You can answer if you wish to venture. Someone writes and asks, do we recall what the initial cost of the South Sound Boardwalk was expected to be, or if I read that correctly? So it's asking, do we know what the initial stated cost was for that project in South Sound?
No, I just knew the project was going on, and I did hear it was out for public tender, but I didn't know what the awarded cost was. I heard one of your avid listeners come on I think it may have been this talk show or your parent talk show, and the morning talk show, sorry, and made some reference to it, but I was not able to listen in,
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. Listen, you always, bring us some good things to consider, and you will make a valuable contribution. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you.
Enjoy your afternoon. With that, please join us as we go to our next caller. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. You on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How you doing?
Good afternoon, sir. Sounds like a familiar voice.
Yes, this is Chris Saunders. I just had to call in, listening to the last caller, and want to give him the assurances that as one of those directors that he spoke about, he's right, that we're the directors, they're the shareholders, they're the ultimate boss. And outside of issues of national security, the public business cannot be done in private. And what I can give him the assurance is that for every issue that he raised and he touched on, we're either going to be touching on those issues, either via questions in the Legislative Assembly or as a member of the Public Accounts Committee to look into those issues. They're all valid issues, and I think at the end of the day, if we're going to sit down and straddle current our current people and future generations with this amount of debt, at a minimum, we need to take it to them. I have tried my best to run the numbers to the port, and I can't see where it makes any financial sense. And I am waiting to see what the government will be putting out there. Maybe they have assumptions that I have not looked at, so I'm trying to at least keep an open mind. But at a minimum, major capital projects such as those are the type of projects that should be decided by the people. And it's one thing to have a vision, it's the next thing to have a dream, but a dream without a plan is a nightmare. And we have had too many nightmare scenarios already, and I think it's about time that we really sit down and start putting some proper planning in place.
Well, if you could ask you from the perspective of, as you said, one of those directors, do we have right now an expected cost, a proposed cost, an assumed cost of what this project would be? Is it the $500 million or $750 million that I've been hearing recently, or is it only $10?
I'll answer it this way, Sterling. They say that past performance is indicative of future behavior, or past behavior is indicative of future performance. The truth of the fact is this government has no track record of completing any major project that they said that they've started to complete. They have done so within budget. We have seen it with the schools, we've seen it at the airport, we have seen it just about every single thing that they touch. And the truth of the fact is, the port will be no different. That is a fact. I can only go by what they have done in the past, and that is the track record, that is the history. And it does not give enough confidence to say that if they undertake this massive project, that they'll be able to complete in whatever number they present to the public. The other issue that we need to speak about that no one wants to touch is also the many conflicts that we have on these government boards and these different things that people are on. I mean, these are almost issues that some people look like they're afraid to talk about, touch on, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, whether it be the planning board, Cayman Airways board, Airports Authority board, or whatever board, there are just too many conflicts that are running around inside the country. But what we also need to do as people, and this is where the culture for a lot of the electorate needs to change, is, I mean, I look at the yesterday's newspaper with HSM, I think, taking people to court for money owed to the HSA. And don't get me wrong, if you go and you take a government service and you're supposed to pay, you should pay. But at the same time, what I would have also liked to have seen is at least some court case filed against Mike Ryan or his companies or whatever for the $6.2 million in import duties that he didn't pay. You know what I mean? So you have small businesses importing goods into this country. They're paying their duties up front before they even made a sale, but yet the big boys come in and play by a different rule, and they make their money, they make their millions, they take off, and the people left to turn off the light. I mean, this to me is really what I have a problem with. You know what I mean? And you have people out there who are playing by the rule, and are basically, the system is, messing them over. You know what I mean? And it is our job, as one of those directors that the last caller spoke about, to basically, deal with some of these issues. And to quote my friend from, my colleague from East End, if time comes, we need to beat man with beat man. But the public needs to understand the truth and what is going on inside their country.
No, with that, with you, who are the elected members of the Legislative Assembly, with us, who are the public voters and otherwise, two things. Is there an expectation that the government, because of their numbers, because of their sort of agenda, are they going to go forward with this thing as they choose?
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, in a democracy, in our system, the majority rules, and the government has the majority. I mean, there's a saying that, the minority will have its say, but the government will have its way. They are the majority. But what we have also seen with the legal practitioners bill and others is that once the public puts the right pressure on the government, is that they will buckle. I mean, at the end of the day, they're still politicians. They still have to do whatever it is that the public wants and the public demands. And to do otherwise is literally political suicide. So we saw that with the legal practitioners bill. And I can tell you in that, I mean, coming on to the port, I mean, just yesterday I had a meeting with some people, and the port was one of the things that was front and center in the sense that, we are going down this road. No one is being transparent. No one is saying what's been going on. And they start hiding me and stuff like commercial sensitivity and all that kind of stuff. And you see with Cayman Airways and the whole 9 yards. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you look at the Constitution, it's clear when it comes on to the Public Accounts Committee, we have a constitutional responsibility to get that information. Now, if it's commercially sensitive and you don't want to give it to me in public, at least give it to me in private and let us decide whether or not this is something. But you just can't sit back and not present the information. So the flip side about it is this, is that more and more there's this little secrecy culture that's being built up. And the truth of the fact is, Sterling, this old dollhouse needs to mash up. I mean, healthcare is one of the things that is really, I have a fundamental issue with. I look at the same pension issue. Those are two things, the health and the pension, that I'm seriously passionate about. I have serious concerns with it. I think it's just taking people's money out of their pocket. They're not getting value for money for it. So these are the issues that we have to tackle. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, this is why we have elections, because that is to determine the will of the people. And unfortunately, our government, twice in a row, 2 elections in a row, never receive a mandate. So it's been kind of, what do you really go on? But you just can't be sitting down and pushing things through and thinking that you have a mandate when in fact you don't. The people of this country gave no major one group any mandate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And for me, it's very simple. I got there with no special interest money. I didn't get there in a coattail, so the only people I'm indebted to is the people that bought down west and the people of the Cayman Islands, and that's the only people I will represent. But what I want to say to that last caller is that, one, as one of those 19 directors, I am listening. I know that others of my colleagues are listening, and we're going to get the answer to those questions one way or the other. And these we are going to tell you, if we need to take them to court to get it, we'll take up to court. But we're going to get the information.
Well, it is, I think, where as a people we rely on the elected members to keep us not just informed, but involved. Anything finally you want to share with us, sir?
I wanted to let that last caller call in. I mean, like I said, it really raised a lot of valid points, and it moved me enough to the point that as one of those directors that he spoke about, I had to call in and to just let him know that the issues that he's raised are, one, they're all valid, and two, one way or the other, we're going to get the answer to all these questions.
All right. Hey, thanks very much, sir. Hopefully we get a chance to engage you further.
All right, and good to see you. Have a good day, sir.
You too, my friend. All right, to our callers online, with great respect, please stay on the line. We're going to pause quickly. When we come back, get to you.
South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
Enjoy dining by the sea in the relaxed, tranquil atmosphere with local food specials every day and karaoke every Saturday night with Cayman Elvis.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
King Sports Center's Art of Fun Summer Camp is back from July 3rd to August 3rd. Now in its 14th year, the Art of Fun Camp is ideal for kids aged 5 through 10 with activities from football, basketball, dodgeball, squash, rock climbing, arts and craft, dance, singing, and more. Your child can stay cool while having fun in a safe and secure environment. For more info, email kings.brebanks@gmail.com. That's kings.brebanks@gmail.com or call 946-KING, like King's Sports Center on Facebook, and you can also find them on Instagram or call 946-5464. King's Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for the 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. We certainly appreciate the callers sharing with us. We do, understand that sometimes there are delay between callers and the breaks. So we certainly appreciate you staying online. As we go to our phones, hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you confirm who is paying the $1.something million to the boardwalk in South Sound? Is it government or is it being funded by someone?
I can't confirm, but I understand that it is monies from the government purse. So taxpayers' money, the government is funding it, is what I understand.
Okay, now if they can pay $1.something million for a boardwalk in South Sound that we really didn't need, it was nice to walk how it was natural. Why are they asking the public to pay at least half of what they estimate the cost to renovate Smith Barcadere will be? Now, as far as I'm concerned, with all due respect and in my opinion, they should not expect to turn Smith Barcadere into 7 Mile Beach because it is a very small area. It is already too small for the crowd that assembles there now. And the worst thing they can do is to create another parking lot. The only parking lot they need there is for the handicapped and the elderly citizens, the disabled people. They need a special place for parking there, yes. But not to consider about parking for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to come from all over the island. That South Smith Barcadere should be preserved for Georgetown and the people from South Sound and maybe a few others, but it cannot accommodate the entire whole island. And they are going to ruin it by putting 4 cabanas there because 4 cabanas will not suit that site up there. 2 will be plenty. 2 cabanas there will be plenty, not 4. And I hope that they don't change it up as much as they're talking about doing. And another thing, if they expect the public to fund half of it, who should have to fund the whole entire redevelopment of Smith Barcadere? Dart. He's the one that ruined 7 Mile Beach and took it away for his guests because it looks like government is only concerned about the rich foreign investors who come here that they can pay these big fees to live in a nice, expensive hotel, and then they're the ones who are supposed to enjoy the sunset, the sea, and everything else, but Caymanians must be deprived of it, and it's a shame. It is a real shame and disgrace that Cayman has come to this. Caymanians are being deprived of so much just because the rich foreign investors, and our government needs to pay more attention to their Caymanians who vote for them. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Well, as we go to the other caller, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Very thankful and blessed. How about yourself?
Good. When the premier was on a few months ago talking about the boardwalk up in South Sound, the way that he talked in the impression he gave me that it was going to be built by the government. And when I asked him about it and was how it's going to run for us as locals, he said it'll be there for all of us to use, but there'll be no loud music and there'll be not selling of any items on that particular boardwalk, I guess, on the beach. Austin can call in and correct me. A few months ago, Austin was on the radio talking about the boardwalk. And as far as I can remember, he can correct me. He said it was funded by a private investor. It was not the government. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I did call and said something effect that I got the impression by the premier some time ago when he first came on the radio and talked about it, that it was the government doing it. So we need to know who's doing it, because we got so many people here hurting. And we are just here beautifying this and beautifying that and forgetting where we come from and taking away every little half an inch of our heritage. This is Baby Island of this so-called home. Sterling, we are getting slapped in our face on a daily basis, and nobody is doing anything about it. We Caymanians that we do have left, we are so, what do you say, quiet, calm, and selective. And then when we open our mouth, we are miserable, we hateful, and we complaining. We're not complaining, we're not hateful. But to sit here and see what's happening to this little baby island. Sterling, I am coming from the mosquito days. I am coming from no electricity. I'm coming from no running water, no inside facilities. That's where I'm coming from. And to see where Cayman has come to, some of it is great, but not all. That new bypass on that new tunnel down by the Royal Palms, Sterling, every time I go through that, my chest hurt me. I hope I don't have a heart attack, but every time I drive under that son of a gun, my chest hurt me. The fear of having to drive under that, driving under the other one. When I went under that a couple of hours ago, I said, really and truly, what is the purpose for these two bridges? No more than for visitors to walk across from an investor piece of property. And I pray and I ask the Lord, please don't let anything happen here in the Cayman Islands, that those bridges, or whatever you want to call them, block anyone in from West Bay or anyone in from Georgetown to get to save our lives on this island of this so-called home. Sterling, when we can put our foot down this island, I don't know. But I can tell you one thing. In here, Mr. Edible Revolution, I pray it never happens. People, as the few Caymanians left, they are too quiet. They are too quiet. And
If I,
one morning.
Sorry, if I may ask of you, if you said we put our foot down, how would you suggest we do that?
Darling, I know we have let it go too far, don't get me wrong. But we can put a stop now to what will come next. They killed McKeever, so let him die, did what he did. This other government here, they got 19 members, is continuing the remainder of what McKeever probably has passed, or what was in the tunnel to pass, and this man has got what he wanted. You understand? And for this man to get as much as he got here in Cayman, when I got my visitors say that they had God own half of the island, remember President Sterling, that thing to me like a fish hook. To know the visitors can come here and say that they hear that God own half of the island, when we supposed to not say ain't nobody here own Cayman but we the people of this island, where we coming from, of our forefathers and mothers who helped build this country. Listen to me. I know we would need some development here. Don't get me wrong. I know we would need some workers to come into Cayman. But when I see people coming just to go and deliver a letter or drive a, Sterling, out here, it's rough.
But then when, as I listen to you and I hear your sentiments, and I think many echo, perhaps not as kindly as you have, but is it one individual, and if it's something that has happened in the past, or is it just recently? But equally important, is it happening in a vacuum and without us, the Caymanians, the Caymanian voter, the Caymanian politician, at least being aware or allowing or somehow accepting of it?
Sterling is happening without us. for the people, for the government to be able to run this country. They come to ask for our vote. They promise us Jesus on a white horse. And when they get in, they forget that they promise us that they're going to take care of us. Can anybody tell me how many permits has been passed since this government has came in effect to the point that Mr. Premier said that they're going to work diligently in controlling the work permit? When you cross immigration, they're all out in the sun standing, waiting patiently to go inside. It's like up in the golf, free ice cream given away.
But
if
I can ask of you, and I certainly, want you to understand, I greatly respect not just you willing to speak publicly, but what you're sharing as well. Let's take two things. The Honorable Premier said long before the last election in a public forum, initially it may have been geared towards the business sector, that the government was looking at, passing, his words, if I recall correctly, bespoke legislation that would allow, development to take place sort of up in the air, not connected to the ground as we traditionally know it. We've heard utterances that these, tunnels were coming and the like. So where are we as a public questioning and asking, and if you want to say demanding answers and explanations?
I say, Sterling, when these tunnels was coming, the government should have town hall meetings. If they did, I know nothing about them. And that our opinion, the people of these islands, our opinion, what do you think about this and about that? What damage and danger do you think it would be to us, the people of these islands? If they had any meetings, I know nothing about them.
All right. But let me ask then the other question. Something that is currently sort of, sometimes we hear, a lot of it and then it sort of dies away. This notion that Caymanians, as we sort of know Caymanians to be, have to go to immigration and get some sort of stamp, some sort of letter, some sort of acknowledgement that they're Caymanian, even when their birth certificates and their parents' birth certificates and their grandparents' birth certificates say that they were born in the Cayman Islands. If that is a requirement, then what are we doing to, at the very least, try to make some sense of that and fix it, resolve it, do something about it so that it isn't the great affront that I find, but I also find from others who are saying, we don't know we're Caymanian because we don't have anything to say we're Caymanian, and what we thought showed that we were Caymanian isn't of any value.
Sterling, we the few Caymanians that left, we are gone to hell in a handbasket. And the reason why I started doing all that crap now is because they're granting all of these permanent residents, and they're entitled to say they are Caymanians, and they're entitled to get a Cayman passport. So that is what messing up the few little Caymanians who left on this earth, in this island here, say that we are Caymanians.
No, I hear you. But respectfully, I mean, even if we have people who have something, we've given them a document that they can use to demonstrate that they're Caymanian. The people that, with respect, who were born here, of parents who were born here, of parents who were born here, who now find themselves, for some strange reason, it has to be some anomaly, that they no longer possess a document, a valid, some sort of official thing that they can present to an employer, to a government scholarship agency, to say, well, your immigration status shows that you're a Caymanian. These group of people can show that, but this group of people can't. What are we going to do to make that, level, equitable across the board for all of us?
Sterling, the only person who can fix that is our government. Because they're the headstone of our island. And if they see what's happening here, what's happening, they're the one that's told you to come fix it, correct it, and take it from there. Let me get an example. I was in a grocery store this morning and took back some items. And the cashier was trying to do it, and she wasn't getting it the right way. Anyhow, the supervisor just keep telling her what to do. It is not coming out the way she wanted it done. Now, instead of that supervisor hitting that key and showing her how it got to be done, and next time she'll probably remember how to really do it. I had to say to the lady, I said, Miss, no disrespect, but I have to leave. Can you please do it and then make her look at what you're doing so I can leave? And that's when I got to the grocery store. I was there for over 5 minutes or more. The supervisor refused. You know?
Right. Well, it is something that I think, without question, is a motive, but it's something that I think we can very rationally, objectively resolve. Failing which, maybe you are right. There may be some other measure. Hey, thank you very much, Mom. Anything else you want to find and share with us?
When it comes to solving anything in Cayman, it seems like pulling some teeth from a baby who don't have their first don't have the second set of teeth as yet. Everything in Cayman becoming difficult. Only for those that call themselves a Caymanian. I call myself a Caymanian when I was born here, and I hope to die here.
Well, thank you, Mom, and I trust and pray that there'll be a long life ahead and maybe continued prosperity and constructiveness. Let's pause, though, for our callers, respectfully, and join us after the break.
When it comes to designing a kitchen or a bath, functionality and style should be at the center of your design. Declutter, improve lighting, change cabinets, increase storage, and show your style with the help from experts at Brand Source Home Gallery. Save 20% on the finest cabinets and fixtures this July for Kitchen and Bath Month at Brand Source. The design team can help create the perfect personal spa retreat and help design your functional kitchen, whether designing from scratch or renovating your home. Stop by Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, to save 20% on kitchen and bath cabinets and fixtures.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
It's hard. Being a parent is demanding, not to mention trying to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. I needed help, and the Ministry of Education was able to provide it for my child to attend preschool. From one parent to another, if you need the financial help, submit your application today to find out if you qualify for preschool funding assistance.
If you have a child who is 3 years old but not yet 4 by September the 1st, you may be eligible to receive funding. Application forms can be collected from the Government Administration Building, the Department of Education Services, all early childhood centers, and may be found on the Ministry of Education's website at www.education.gov.ky. If you need more information about this government assistance program, please do email ecap@gov.ky. That's ECAP@gov.ky, or call 244-5724.
Would you like to reduce household waste and to save money? Take a look at the many items in your home that can be reused. Food scraps and yard waste make up 25 to 30% of household garbage, but can be composted instead. Reuse glass jars and containers as storage containers. Repair old furniture and appliances where possible. Preserve landfill space and the environment. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. For more information about waste reduction, please visit deh@deh.gov.ky.
Under the distinguished patronage of the Jamaican Consulate, Michelle T. and Friends, in association with JN Money Transfer, present the Jamaica 56th Independence Celebration Gospel Festival, Sunday, August 5th at the Lion Center. Come worship with Marvia Providence, George Banton, Adrian Cunningham, Sean Warren, Women of Purpose, and Michelle T. with her new release. Also featuring Roderick Brown, Laverne Welcome, Earl Bryan, and JJZ Dance Ministry. MC, the Gospel Vibes Master, Delingo. $25 pre-sold at Funky Tanks, J&M Electronics, Fix-It, Celltronics, and JN Money Transfer. $30 at the gates. Showtime 6 p.m. Gates open at 5. Jamaica 56th Independence Celebration Gospel Festival, Sunday, August 5th at the Lion Center.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line 949-8837 or 1-800-534-8255. Invite you to call back, share your thoughts with us. Invite you to, get, as they say, involved in our conversation and add, your contribution. It's open line. Through constructive, proactive dialogue, we may be able to find some meaningful, course of action. 949-8837 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Invite you to WhatsApp if you so choose, 925-3261. Now, as the caller before was sharing, and as a couple of quick comments came through during the break, one individual said, didn't necessarily want to go on air, but the point that we raised relative to the development and the changing face of our landscape, as well as potentially, what it may mean for Cayman and Caymanians down the road. A fellow said, listen, we've lacked in so many respects to show absolute preference and deference, he said, to Cayman and to Caymanians, that we're now becoming a place where it seems to be called Caymanian is not only derogatory and insulting, but is something that is to be ignored and avoided. He shared as an example the fact that the Legislative Assembly had to recently, by law, make an amendment to ensure that the spouse of a Caymanian isn't treated less fairly than the spouse of a permanent resident, shows that the governments to date have not made Caymanians a priority. He said, unfortunately, we create too many instances where we see an expression of national pride, and a semblance of trying to put the people of a country first as this bad thing. And he shared, we're only to blame. Now, just so you know, he said that, this is home for him. Yes, he says he wasn't born here. Yes, he has another passport. Yes, he can go back to his country of birth. But this is home. And as I don't, because often interact and know him, I know that his views in the past were that passive, sort of docile nature of Caymanians shouldn't be replaced with an aggressive, argumentative outlook. But he shared, says it's time to be a little more assertive. And if the elected people, the appointed people, aren't doing the job, it's because the electors, the appointers, aren't doing theirs. His final thoughts were, don't lose the civility and the tranquility that we have. But equally, he shared, we need to make sure that as a country, if we're going to prosper economically and socially, his quick warning comments were, well, we better start working together. I appreciate his thoughts. One day, I believe, as I told him I was going to say this on air, one day I'll get him to a point where he'll convince them to be able to sit across the table from us, and we can benefit from his great counsel and experience, and hopefully he'll share that with us. But here's somebody who I think all of us who know of him knows that he doesn't try to change the accent that he has. He doesn't shy away from sharing his view. Yes, he says he may have independent means, whether intellectual, economic, or otherwise, but he believes that you must be able to stand your ground and speak your mind, but you have to do so appropriately and respectfully. But he thought that Caymanians have sat down too long and to be affected. His final thought was that, he saw an instance where someone who was, sort of made Caymanian, might have been the phrase he used, started to be treated, less in their working environment than when they were still on a work permit. And he thought, something is strangely wrong with that. It's only then that you should acquire some semblance of rights, some semblance of, being invested in a society, having that security of tenure. Not in all instances, but he shared that story with us in the past. It's almost 2 o'clock. we're almost ready for our news. As Miss Susan directs us into the, runway, we'll land, pick up our headline news. When we come back, it may not be a Cayman Airways flight, it may not be no fruit punch, but man, if you participate, it'll be a jovial ride. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
A man is hurt during a dispute between a security guard and another man. It happened around 2 a.m. on Saturday at Everglow Bar in Boddentown. After a scuffle between a security guard and a patron, a third man was cut in his leg and is believed to have serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Hundreds of people are missing and an unknown number dead after a dam under construction collapsed in southeast Laos. The collapse at the hydroelectric dam late Monday night sent flash floods through 6 villages. More than 6,600 people have been made homeless. At least 60 people have died in wildfires in the Attica region around Athens in Greece's worst fire disaster in more than a decade. Flames fanned by strong winds devastated the seaside city, devouring homes and cars. Rescuers found the bodies of 26 adults and children who'd apparently hugged each other as they died, trapped by the inferno just meters from the sea. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. It's Tuesday. I must share with you, boy, it could be a Friday, it could be a Thursday. It's just another blessed day. So let's find a way to make it productive. Let's see if we can get constructive contribution to our society and invite you to share your thoughts with us. So it's open line as we get into the last, half hour or so of our show here today. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Now, call us prior and you may want to weigh in. What is it going to take for this society to be able to convince its policymakers to involve the wider community that we need to champion the rights of our people here to be able to maintain a sense of civility, to grow a stronger sense of unity, and perhaps to recognize that the changing, dynamic globally is that many countries are looking at their own interests. Now, does that mean that they're going to become insular and xenophobic as men in the media like to champion? Or does it mean that they're recognizing that as they try to extend a helping hand, it must also include their very own? What is your thought? 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. 1-800, so that's a toll free number, 534-8255. Call and share your thoughts with us as we invite you to be a part of today's production. Get ready to go to our calls and join our listeners who want to share via the telephone line. For those who want to type or text or otherwise send it through, hey, a couple of options for you. WhatsApp, 925-32621. Or email, talktoday@candw.ky. Go to our phones, Miss Susan. Hey, Susan says, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Dwayne.
And to you, my friend. How are you today?
Well, I'm pretty good, How you doing? Well, I'm a little stressed, but how you doing?
Listen, man, I try to remind myself.
I'm having I'm sorry to cut you off. Having internal turmoil, and then I'm listening to the callers.
All right. Well, let's see how we can help you, man, so that we can make sure that together we can make it better. All right?
Well, your rhetorical question. I hope your question a while ago was rhetorical. What does it take? Oh my goodness! You want the long plan or the short plan?
What effective plan is going to make us better?
Yeah, but both are effective, and number one just a little bit more
decisive.
Yeah, not too nice. Not too nice. And it would be really nice, and not one that I would like to see. But boy, if you listen to the ladies who are wailing, I think of the biblical term who called you earlier, the wailing women. It doesn't leave very much room for us to entertain anything of sense, to answer your question, because it doesn't seem like nobody else is listening. And when you ask that question, what immediately came to mind was today's front page cover of the Cayman Compass. Dwayne, I need to tell you, buddy, I laughed. I hope I'm not nude or you're not thinking bad of me, but I laughed at the front page.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so I must.
It says the tourism minister, something to the effect, said that the recent the recent theft is an affront to the tourism industry.
Can I don't lose your train of thought? We just want to make sure our engineering section is saying there's a little bit of a feedback and a challenge. Just do not go anywhere. Miss Susan is going to correct that. A second, as we have that caller, because as you know, that caller gets an opportunity now and again and shares a thought. Always a great contribution. I want to be able to hear exactly, every word as clearly as possible, so we can make sure the connection is as clean and crisp as possible. For those of you who are joining us, we say our numbers often, and sometimes may not always, be ready for you to record it. So, when you call us, 949-8037, or you can do it toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Yes, sir. Welcome back, and I do apologize for that. Hopefully, we've made a better connection.
I hope so too. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
I don't know.
Yes, sir. I think Susan said it's better. All right.
Okay, well, glad to hear that, man. I left off by saying, sadly, man, the front page of the newspaper today, I laughed at the headline and I laughed at the article, and I thought I was really bad for doing so. But
sometimes you need a good laugh, man. But share with us something, because I haven't seen it. And it
said that the tourism minister said that the recent thefts and stuff at the public beaches on the tourists and stuff was an affront to the tourism industry. And it went on to detail some of the actions that are taking place involving the theft. And I tell you the truth, Dwayne, I laughed not because I didn't recognize the seriousness of what he said, obviously. It was hard for me to decipher really at the end of the day why I laughed. Well, which one I laughed at more, as somebody asked me recently. But it's theft is an affront to all of Cayman, not just the tourism industry. It's a horrible situation that we're going through. But when I think about what some of the suggestions or some of the things that the article went on to talk about, which was some of the measures that the government is thinking about doing or hinting at it. Excuse me, there's a noise of truck going by. Hinting at it. I really had to scratch my head, Dwayne, because I don't know what it's going to take, and I'm going to use your question. I don't know what it's going to take for some of our leaders to understand that increasing measures that add to the insecurity that the Caymanian people are feeling at this time, and particularly those who are vulnerable, is not the answer. So adding more cameras and increasing jail times and all those things, I all see as not the solution, bro. We're constantly treating symptoms of crime rather than getting at the root. And the more that we continue to operate in that vein, the worse it's going to get. I mean, I don't know what would make the minister believe that if you simply, increase the penalties based on the fact that it's a tourism crime, that you think that that's going to stop it. I I don't know where that comes from. That sounds like something that Cuba did some time back. But we're dealing with why people are committing these crimes. And first of all, it would be interesting to note, and I don't want to start a different argument here, nor do I want to create a red herring. So let me preface what I'm going to say by saying this. I am acutely aware that Caymanians are committing crimes in this country. I'm acutely aware that there are many Caymanians, or there are many within groups and younger people. I mean, it was astonishing to me to read the recent headlines or the recent news articles in regard to the age groups that are committing a lot of these crimes, these burglaries. I mean, some of them were 16, 17, and 18. The recent robbery, there was an 18-year-old. So don't let what I'm going to say now.
Yes, sir.
But I would not be surprised, just based on the fact that there seems to be a yearly trend, that there are others who are committing crimes in this country.
So the question, and I mean, I had a couple of interesting discussions earlier, and sometimes you just got to maybe ask people to get to the point, right? So here are these big wigs who are having a chat, and they're dancing around it. And I thought, well, why isn't nobody, willing to at least try to put things on the table to ask? These are people who are in a position to make a difference, whose voices, faces, names carry some semblance of weight, credibility, and otherwise. As you were saying, annually, every summer we seem to see this spike in crime. Now, we've become very sort of astute at saying, it's, because schools are out. There are those who directly say, we've got people coming from elsewhere here in Idle. Now, as you shared, are we addressing the root cause of the problem? And when we know something, if I may add one more thing that as one of the fellows shared, and he, as I told him, he lacked the wherewithal to say it publicly, right? The 15, 17, and whatever the age of the individual. Now, why is it that we're not willing to look at individuals when they commit crimes and provide as, much information about them? It's convenient, some would allege, they're from West Bay, they're from East End. But we can't say that they're Caymanian or not Caymanian. We can't say these things. Or we only say it when it paints a particular picture. Now, we got a tendency to want to follow the U.S. media. Why don't we follow it all the time? Put the information that is available out there consistently. So you know that this is the description, this is the particulars of the individual in every instance. But only when it's good for one or deliberately designed to affront another.
I totally agree with you, and I agree with your friend's analysis. And it's important for us, if we're going to get systemically at the heart of the issue, to understand, one, what we're dealing with, because then it just seems like it's all a blur. And unfortunately, who tends to get the greatest negative words, I guess, aimed at them would be the Caymanian, because if it's happening in the Cayman Islands, it's got to be the little young Caymanians who are running around who are committing the crime, and that's not always the case, Dwayne. But I think the more, all I got to say today, bro, because I'm not at solutions at this point in time. I don't think it's not, this forum does not allow for that right now. But I can tell you, Dwayne, that I join the echo of the voices that you've heard today in regards to the very real turmoil that Caymanians are feeling on every level. And I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question, and this is to all those leaders who are listening. What is it going to take for you to understand that the Caymanian people are hurting? And you think that you have the grasp. If you do, and you got your hand on the pulse, then shame on you, because you're not saying nothing and you're not doing nothing. And every time that Parliament convenes, I listen to it. I'm listening for a Caymanian leader in that Parliament to stand up and start saying enough is enough. We've got to change this model. This business model is not working for us.
Well, let me share this with you respectfully. One of the individuals earlier, I call her an elderly lady, but she's sprightly and very angelic. And to answer part of your question, when she was referring to, in her mind, the many of those who are elected and have been elected, she said, you can't pour anything from an empty vessel. So,
well, I tell you what, your two callers said it. One of your callers said it 2 calls ago when he said we're very forgiving now. Now some of us call it foolish. We're very foolish. Some of us, unfortunately, because the system has almost programmed us, and I have lots of examples of that I could give personally from people who I'm very intimately connected. I mean, to where they live in fear. Many of our seniors and elders live in fear of not doing the same thing every 4 years because that's just what they have been conditioned to. But yeah, you can't feed empty vessels. So without the vision, you can't really. There's not much else to do. I can only encourage our Cayman people to reassess, man, to reassess what we're doing every 4 years, because that's just where it's either not doing or we're going to answer that question for you, and it's going to come naturally because I don't think we're going to need to send out any signals or anything to the Caymans. It's just going to be, they're just going to hear something is happening and they're going to go and join it because it's just going to resonate with them. And it's unfortunate, but don't kill the messenger, but that's just where it's at.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for sharing, sir.
Thanks too much.
All right, enjoy your afternoon. One final break, not very long. When we come back, let's take some more calls. Stay tuned, please.
Pirates Cave and Eatery. Tune in Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Exclusive. Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio, featuring Will Sinatra. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, and soca, and an entertainment trivia section.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Pirates Cave and Eatery. Bring your family, satisfy your appetite, enjoy the ambience.
The following is a public service announcement. The Council of the Justices of the Peace Association is pleased to advise the public that general document signing services will be provided 3 days a week in the front lobby of the Government Administration Building. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 noon, the following services will be provided by volunteer justices: witnessing a signature on an authentic document, certifying a document as a true copy of the original once the original has been provided, witnessing a signature and completing the portion on a Cayman Islands or British passport application, including acknowledging that the photo provided is a true likeness. Please note, a JP must have known the passport applicant for no less than 2 years before signing the application. Identification cards must be presented, and persons seeking the services of the justices must ensure that proper attire is worn when visiting the Government Administration Building.
Important notice for all contractors, including general, civil, residential, building, and trade contractors. The Department of Planning would like to inform you that in order to pull permits and request inspections, your company must be registered with the Builders Board by July 31st, 2018. Failure to register with the Builders Board will prevent you from seeking permits and inspections. Fees and applications can be found online at www.planning.ky. All applications and fees for all contractors must be submitted by July 31st, 2018.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line. We have some calls online. Respectfully, let's go straight to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Brother Dwayne.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Not good like you and AC and I out in the sun burning.
Well,
down in the Republic.
Being outside is
the
better.
sun is hotter down in the Republic, you know.
Yeah, you're in Iraq somewhere? Or?
What caused that, man?
Why, some would say is the likeness of... Anyway, let me not go there. It's good when you're outside, my friend. It's good when you're outside.
Talking about the crime this summer. Brother Sterling, can you tell me in this part of the world that people that is on work permits can bring their children on the island for summer and get them a summer job as well?
I don't know that I would be an expert in immigration law, and I would tell you that there's a perception that things happen here that sometimes doesn't seem to bear much explanation, you know?
because what I see the problem is I observe it. There is some stores and supermarkets and things that got children from overseas where their parents is here on work permit, and the parents bring the children here for the holidays. And I know that the immigration can't get the children no work permit, but they're here working. And if you is an expatriate working for $6 an hour, go pay rent on the island, go buy food, go pay your maintenance. I don't know how you can also maintain your child coming for the holiday. That's where the crime is. The immigration should check on that and see what's happening about that, because that's where it's coming, because it happened every summer, because the children is out of school and they need some money for the holidays to go back to school. So that is where it's happening, because what I am seeing, I'm seeing children from overseas working in places on the island, stores and supermarkets and things. And I know that immigration can't give them no work permit. So can somebody tell me an answer that for me, please?
Well, question that I know others have asked, maybe not as succinctly as you. Thank you, sir. Let's take one more call. Welcome, you're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Oh, I'm not bad. I'm thankful.
Amen.
I got a little comment, a little suggestion on this crime on the beach.
Yes, sir.
I wonder if they wouldn't consider about making some offices down and put some security guards there so that people could check in their whatever their bags and all like that in a little booth with security guard, and respond something that they could identify it, and when they come out the water, they could come back and retrieve their things, and I think that would discourage a lot of stealing.
It is, and it would be nice if we could have a society that respects others, their person and their property, and but look like we're willing to trade that in for the dollar or for whatever else that's happening these days. But an excellent suggestion, sir. Now, those security guards, would they be paid by the public? Would they be voluntary? What are your thoughts?
Well, I haven't worked that out yet.
Yes, sir.
But it's just I was just laying on my hammock there, and now reading the papers about all this thing, and I think it's. Of course, I would think so. It's an idea that they could think about. It wouldn't cost that much money just to put up a little shack, a building on these places and hire some people. And cause our repetition is, the thing is only the good things that go around the world, but the bad things are going too, and it's going to come back to hurt us, to bite us one of these days if they don't put a stop to it. Because I always heard a stitch in time saves nine. That's from the time I was a little boy. I heard that saying.
Yes,
so it's just a wild idea I have. So I thought I would pass it on.
Well, I think as usual, you put forward some excellent ideas. Now the question is, when we're looking at our society, callers today and previous times, on air and otherwise, have shared. Every year we see this thing happening. Have we sort of determined that it could be this or that when people seemingly with some sort of, knowledge suggest that it is this or that? Are we doing anything to address it? Safety, security, as you shared, the perception, but the enjoyment as well.
Steve Banks.
Yes, sir.
I've been around quite a bit. I had 41 years on ships.
Yes, sir.
And it's one thing, our population don't have anything to do with it, and they don't know anything about it, but I had a lot to do with stowaways. So you have to be creative. You have to be able to think like the criminals in order to catch them. You can't. Anyhow, that's my little bit for today.
But thank you, sir. And I believe everybody would share with me that we value your contribution, and you always bring something that is insightful. Some would even say innovative. So thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you again.
Bye-bye. Have a good afternoon. As we listen to that caller, we have to ask ourselves, the things that are happening in our society, Are we cognizant and conscious of it? Are we prepared to be proactive and to address it? Now, it may be that we say, oh, it's just, adolescents being idle. Oh, that's the, children on the summer. Well, what if it is? What if it's children, as many have alleged, in writing, anonymously or otherwise, in public, in forums like this? Oh, there are people coming from elsewhere. Well, maybe we shouldn't look at it as pointing fingers. Maybe there's a way to address it. And it doesn't matter, or does it? Now, what are we doing? From those of us who use, our vehicles on the roads without license, insurance, or a valid driver's license, if we turn a blind eye to that, well, does that resolve it? To those who would say, well, corruption is, systemic and endemic, and it's, with everybody and anybody, in all place and all the time. Well, if that's the culture that we have, can you think back to a place that you lived? Maybe it was a time in Cayman, maybe the other, part of the world that you lived in, where people respected another's property. You didn't go into a person's yard and take their orchids or their fruit or, other things that they have in the yard. You didn't walk through the yard to get from one section of the neighborhood to the next. Was that a time in Cayman? Has it been lost, or is it a recent occurrence? Again, if things are important and they're not acknowledged and addressed, preserved and protected, can we expect anything otherwise to happen? Many, from the would-be politician to the, sort of fixture, always apt to say, evil prevails when good men do nothing. Well, is that the problem? Not enough of us are speaking up, standing up, and doing the right thing. We allow people to get away with something because it's so-and-so and such and such. We castigate and criticize all the others simply because they speak out. And when those who speak out, do they speak out with a sense of respect and respectability, or are they finally, as I said, had enough, and now it's only because it's happened to them personally that they're now sharing what they're sharing? Well, just comments to chew on. What do we do? How do we do it? And are we prepared to do it together? Very few things are, enjoyed better alone. Most things, they say, safety in numbers, strength in numbers. You ever tried to clap with one hand? You can do it. You ever tried to play tug of war by yourself? Hey, good game of domino is always better when you have four playing, not just two. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Want you to be a part of our discussions. We commend, for the record, with Mr. Art in the mornings, as one of the early callers said, with your parents show, hey, that'll be fine. I can take tutoring and mentoring from Mr. Art. You listen to our program in the morning and you'll find that it informs you, it involves you. Continue with our programming here and hopefully find the same here and talk today. It is us who live here who are affected and impacted by what happens here to work together. We can choose to be divisive and destructive, vitriolic and filled with animosity, or we can be very proactive, stand our ground and say things, and if it offends people but is truthful, hey, so be it. Let's see if we can get a couple of calls before the program ends. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling Dwayne.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today, my friend?
Not bad. We have some numbers to look at which are mind-boggling in terms of how other people manage and how we manage. We're 30,000 people amongst the 60,400. 30,000 Caymanians. That has been the estimate. It is sad that we cannot do what it takes to fix whatever there is and challenge for youngsters who need to be brought up to speed to fit in our current society, for retraining for the new world that we're in, for readaptation to the new economic terms that are around. With all the prosperity that confronts us every day in our island, it is wrong that we are not able to do the balance and do the right thing right now.
Not able, or we're unwilling?
Come again?
Is it that we're unable or we're just unwilling?
We are unwilling.
Okay.
We have the ability. It is within grasp. There's so much available in terms of brain power right within and amongst us to resolve a lot of these issues. It comes right down to willpower. There are economic interests who do not have our country at heart, and then there are powerful people who are ourselves who have lost the will to exercise that power on behalf of the common good. There is no reason why we should have as much disparity as we do have, and without overcorrecting, without over-politicking in terms of economics. We can do this. It can be done. And if those who are in power are unable to do so, there are a group of young Caymanians who are going to do so, and they will probably do so with a little more, unfortunately, with a little more strength than is common around here. But those matters are going to change.
But in the ensuing period, right, to get to that point, what may happen?
We may experience a little more degradation sociologically, so things might get worse before they get better. And then something will be done.
But is that thing that's done?
One thing is sure. The history of this country, innovation built into it, has problem solving built into it, has along with the fact that there is a reticence to change, but there is that Caymanian mariners disposition and to correct something, to make it better. We need to be able to reinvest in that kind of DNA. And that DNA has been what has brought this country to where it is today.
That resolve, that resilience of which you speak, there are some of our people who speak freely, will speak in a way with conviction, but sometimes even our own, when we hear it, may assign a label, words like upstart and radical, and, you've heard some of the words that have been assigned to some of our people. Why is it that they're not embraced and championed, even though the things that they say may be privately acknowledged by some of the detractors? Might have been saved by the bell to that call. Listen, thank you all very much for being a part of today's production. I trust that as a people, we start to recognize that if you've been here for generations, if you've only been here recent, whether you are a visitor-like status or whether you're a permanent resident or otherwise, this is going to be home. What can we do to make it better? If you think it's bad now, let's see if we do nothing and it continues the crime that creates instability and insecurity, the sense of, how growing fear and dread of our safety, and not just to our person or our property, but the fact that you can't walk the beach without being attacked by some, vicious dog. You can't have a conversation with your co-worker without fear of being hit with a hammer or attacked and thrown out the window, or you say, wait till this person goes postal. And listen, walk the streets and talk to people, and you recognize that there are many people who are frustrated and aggravated. Some don't exactly know how to exercise in a great deal of self-control. People show little or no respect for others, for their cars. Listen, if we are prepared to accept, as the caller just shared, a society that is increasingly being, subjected to degradation, people being denigrated and disrespected. Doesn't matter if you were here forever or you're recent. If that's the culture and ethos of a society where people have little or no worth or value other than what they can contribute to the bottom line, sense of humanity and respect matters little, then really and truly have we advanced and matured, have we progressed? Well, you be the judge. I'll say together we can make much happen if we work for the greater good. Listen, please join Mr. Art in the morning for the record. Come back for Talk Today right after the midday news. Maybe there's a song you want to hear. Hey, Susan can play it for you. And of course, our Super Jam is up there. Our news at 6 for the hour. Stay tuned for our programming. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to the Iceman in recent times, hey, he has some good songs on, Some of us would say who work here, probably even, the best music comes on later in the evening. Until tomorrow, my friends, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by South Coast Bar and Grill in Breakers, a true Caymanian experience.
Voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
We love our listeners.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.